starting off today with a little PVZ action starting. In the top right-hand side of Oxide LE from Team Exxon, we have got our Polish Protoss player, Gerald. And his opponent in the bottom left-hand side in the blue, representing Ukraine and Raise Your Edge Gaming, we have got Bly. Now, Bly, obviously known as a bit of a tricksy player, a kind of a sneaky sort, and so far in game number 1, looking very, very normal for our boy Bly. Look at that. We have got a hatchery down at the natural, going into a hatch, and I assume gas, followed by, oh my god, double gas here. Hang on, was this double gas scene? No, it was not. So, double gas scene, a bit of an interesting start here for Bly, who is, of course, hatch blocking at the natural of Gerald. Gerald has now seen a hatch block and knows that something sneaky is going on. Interestingly, Gerald has not pulled any probes yet to deal with this natural hatch block. Normally, the follow-up to this hatch block is... Sorry, I'm going to turn my volume down just a little bit, guys. Very loud in my ears. Apologies. Hard to focus when everything is just blowing me out. Alright, this looks a little bit better. There we are. Sorry about that volume change, guys. Let me know if everything is alright in the chat. Should be a-okay. Anyway, normal follow-up for Gerald is going to be a Zealot with about 4 or 5 probes pulled down to this natural to deal with the natural, or the hatch block in the natural. It looks like that's not going to be the case right now, though, as Gerald has failed to pull any more probes. He's got 1 Zealot out, 2nd Zealot, and an Adept on the way, but this hatch will almost certainly finish, and with a fair amount of health also. So this hatch is going to finish up. We should see a Queen popping out pretty quickly from Bly if he wants to commit to this. With two Zealots out already, he may not actually, just opting to get a couple of Lings out in the natural. Now behind this, of course, he's adding on some more Lings back home. The idea is going to be that uh-oh, hang on just a minute. Looks like you get a bit of a, oh dear. What's going on here? Looks like things have stopped for a moment. And there we go. I think that was definitely me, so... Oh boy. Okay. Hopefully everything is alright. Anyway, Link's getting into the main base here for Bly. They are going to get a full scout out. We'll see this Stargate in the main. But they will get taken care of right away. So, natural hatchery has been taken care of here. A couple more Links coming in, but honestly, Gerald has followed up with this fairly well. I was a little bit concerned about his opener, but he's got 2 Adepts down already and everything going well for him. Alright, we are good to go. Sorry, guys. Alright, there we go. A little bit of an unexpected tech day for me today. I was not expecting to run the stream today, so apologies that we got a couple little humps and bumps to get over, but I think we're all good now, and we should be able to just enjoy this fantastic StarCraft. We have already got a Void Ray coming out here for Gerald. Of course, Bly has spotted this, oh god, the wall not finished for Gerald. This is a huge mistake. No natural down yet either. This poor probe getting chased away. Interesting, of course, that Bly's going straight for the main mineral line here. I kind of thought he might be going for that probe to get a couple units, or pardon me, I thought I might be going for this pylon to slow down the gateways and warp gate research. Not the case, though, so a bit of an uncharacteristic mistake from Gerald to let those Lings into the natural and up into his main. It looks like he's going to try and follow up with some pressure on the other side. Of course, he's got these Zealots and Adepts from before. He's going to try and get as much damage as he can, but honestly, 2 Queens, a couple of Lings here. With a good drone pull, I don't think Bly is going to lose too terrible much here. As Ling speed finishes up, we're going to see this Zealot and Adept finding some nice spots in these minerals, but with good focus fire here from Bly, Gerald should not get too terrible much done. A fair amount of lost mining time is not bad at all, but not the ideal situation for either player here, as Gerald's natural finally about halfway done. These Adepts still causing a bit of consternation, going down into the natural now, full surround with the Lings and the Queen though, and Bly is going to be able to deal with that very, very well. Plenty of Lings on the map right now for our boy Bly. In fact, if we look at that units tab, we will see 14 Lings steaming across the map right now. The follow-up Oracle going to try and get some damage done. Of course, Bly's been cutting corners to get these Lings out. Already has a Spore Crawler in the natural. Already has a Spore Crawler working in the main as well. So a little bit behind on this Spore Crawler, but 2 Queens going to get a fair amount of damage done. That Oracle will be forced out of the main base. Meanwhile, Lings on the other side of the map getting good surface area on the gateway. for Gerald, but Oracle, Void Ray will chase that away. Again, a very scrappy opener on both sides, but we will have to see what these guys follow up with. Already, Gerald going for a follow-up to this Stargate. He's realized that, hey, my Void Ray's gotten pushed away, my Oracle's gotten pushed away. Not a whole lot that's going to get done here in the with these Stargate units, so I've got to transition out, dropping down a Robo Facility and right into, yes, as expected, Twilight Council and Forge. So a lot of possibilities now for Geralt. It's a little bit late for a Glaive to Depth follow-up, and of course, normally if you follow up with Glaive to Depth, you're going to go Twilight Council and then Robo. With the Forge down, that seems to indicate that Geralt's going for a much longer game play. Going to get the +1, likely going to get some Immortals, and maybe to go straight into Charge Lot Archon, Charge Lot Immortal. He's got a lot of options here to really choose from. So normally I'd say that Bly is favored in this matchup because, of course, Geralt was unable to get any damage done with his Stargate. But remember, this game started with the low ground hatch block from Bly. So actually Geralt is going to be in a pretty decent spot. Bly only just now getting his third base down. Sure, his drone count is okay, 36 to 41, but not as good as you would expect it to be otherwise. And this Void Ray going to find this hatchery right away. The creep spread is not there. This is going to be very, very close. The Queens are here, but of course the Void Ray can just reposition itself. We're going to see if this actually gets canceled. Oh man, Geralt's able to pick that off, slowing down the third base even more. And now the Adepts are here to deal with it as well. Bly is going to be stuck on 2 bases. A very, very sad Zerg is he. The poor drone isn't even going to get away. 2 cancels in a row. More drones going down. The Oracle finding a bit of damage to the natural as well. This is optimal play for Geralt right now. Bly forced to try something crazy. Infestation Pit down right away. Roach Warren down right away. And ladies and gentlemen, when you see an Infestation Pit and a Roach Warren this early in the game on 2 bases, it is very likely you know what's coming next. Now, these Adepts from Geralt are just driving the needle further and further into the voodoo doll that Geralt keeps of Bly in his little shrine to Zerg players that he hates. 13 more drones going down. Bly has now lost a total of 20. Count them, 20 drones this game. That is way too many drones for any Zerg player to lose. Third base now on the way for Geralt at the 12 o'clock position. And as we said earlier, immediately, Immortals popping out here. Charge Lot on the way. It is going to be Charge Lot Immortal for Geralt. A couple links sneak in here to the natural, but it's not the end of the world. The Immortal already out. The Oracle already here. And of course, the Overseer in the main. Gonna get the full scout anyway. So Bly knows what's coming his way, and he can prepare for it as best he can. You know, I'm a little bit amazed that there's no Nidus Worm down yet. I definitely thought that's what we were going to be seeing when that Infestation Pit came down, but I think Bly, realizing he didn't have a lot of map vision on the other side of the map, is going to be forced just to eat this investment into his Infestation Pit and not go Nidus until a little bit later in the game. Yeah, we see that Nidus coming down now. That's a little bit frustrating for the Zerg player who's already on the back foot considerably, and he's just got to hope that the amount of roaches he can get on the map will do incredible damage to Geralt. But at this point, that hope is like that of the hope of the men of Gondor as they faced against the rampaging army of orcs. It is a hope, but it is just a fool's hope at best. Swarm hosts now on the way to complete this Nidus pressure. An interesting choice from Geralt. I thought he might just go for a mass roach push, skip the swarm hosts altogether. He's so far behind in this game, it's going to be very difficult for those swarm hosts to find much credibility, to find much damage in this game. But Bly is committing to it. 8 swarm hosts on, well, it was 2 bases, finally getting his third base up. I highly doubt he'll even saturate this third base up until he can get some more damage done. Unless he can get some more damage done with these swarm hosts. It's simply too much of an investment in economy. Right now, the army supply looks fairly similar. If you just casually watch this game and you're like, oh, the army supply down here in the red, 57 to 55. That looks like pretty even, right? Look at the army value tab up here. Twice the gas value for Geralt's army. More mineral value as well. It's all Roach Ravager right now, and Roach Ravager does not do super well against Charge Lot Archon. Of course, these swarm hosts being forced to be used defensively. The Nidus Worm only just now finishing on the side of the map, but that's bad timing for Bly, as Geralt is already slapped down one of the Night-Eye, and the second one is not going to be able to have any swarm hosts that are active. Of course, all these swarm hosts have just used their ability to push off those locusts. So none of those swarm hosts are going to be active for quite some time, and unfortunately Bly almost practically needs those swarm hosts back home to defend yet again. As the third base for Bly falls, his hopes in this game continue to fall down. Now the good news is the Warp Prism was picked off by Bly. Some of those Corrosive Biles and Queens were able to drive back the Warp Prism, so Geralt's not able to keep this pressure on for too much longer. Oh god, but the terrible news is this Nidus Worm has been caught. These swarm hosts have been caught out as well. A couple Zealots are doing a phenomenal job at the cleanup here in Isle 7. on Oxide, game number 1. The Swarm hosts chased away, and the main army of Bly getting chased back and back and back and back. Archon's eating a bit of damage there, but the Void Ray scrubbing in so much damage, and Bly is just struggling to keep up here. +1 charge lots with Archons behind this. So powerful for Gerald. We even see +2 on the way from our Protoss player, and he's starting to add in more Void Rays. This is a great read from Gerald, realizing that, hey, wait a minute. He's on Swarm host Roach Ravager? That's terrible against everything in my army, and it's even worse against Void Rays. Nice Swarm Host play here from Bly, actually getting 1 round of Swarm Host through. I think these are going to die just before the Nexus goes down, so that Nexus is going to be saved by a hair on Geralt's chinny chin, and luckily Geralt staying active on the map, keeping that scouting up, and making sure that no more Swarm Hosts are able to find, or no more Nidus Worms are able to find a good position for those Swarm Hosts to attack. We see some Roaches here. I think these are probably just going for trying to scout out a location for their Nidus Worm, but look at this. Geralt already on top of it with more charge lots. In fact, the entire army of Geralt rotating around to deal with these 5 Roaches. That's actually going to pull him a little bit out of position, and Bly will be able to get one more Nidus Worm down, rather. Oh, and the Void Ray just missing that Nidus Worm positioning. Should be pretty obvious where he's going, though. If he were... Oh my god, that was almost beautiful from Bly, pulling that Void Ray into those Corrosive Biles. The Nidus will go up, but spotted immediately by the Immortal and smacked down. Oh man, like John Cena in the early days of his WWE career, not able to get anything off the ground. Geralt practically climbed up on the 3rd rope right now, and is, I don't know what wrestler he's most like, but the only wrestling move I know that you do from the top rope is the People's Elbow. So I gotta say, Geralt up on that 3rd rope, tapping his elbow right now, and getting ready to slam down onto Bly. Now, I don't want to overstate things, which is a problem I have sometimes as a commentator. I do want to say that Bly has been doing a pretty phenomenal job. If we look at that income graph, we'll see that Geralt's been pretty much in charge of this game for the last 5 minutes or so, and losing a couple gateways is not a bad start. I will also say that Bly has been doing a phenomenal job playing from the back this game. He has been so far behind the entire game. Anytime a Zerg player is more than 5 or 10 workers behind, the game is not, unwinnable is the wrong word, but just a very, very strong advantage for our Protoss player. So he's going to go in and, anyway, to finish that up, Bly has been doing a phenomenal job playing from a position of weakness, but now we can see the army supply, again, fairly even, but the army value just crazy in favor of Geralt. Bly has kept Geralt back with Nidus play and these Swarm Hosts, buying him a little bit of time, which is exactly what he should have done, but now we see Bly coming up, posturing to protect his 3rd base. Unfortunately, there's a 4th base down for Geralt, and when a Protoss player is 1 base ahead of a Zerg player, you know things aren't great. Templar, I hear on a is that Templar on a patrol pattern? What? I've never seen a high Templar on a patrol path before. Now that is just weird. The Zealots checking around as well. They will see these Swarm Hosts. They won't quite see the Nidus until it's a little bit too late. And again, Geralt being pulled back to respond to this Nidus play just a couple seconds later than he would have otherwise liked to. This is a great move from Bly. He's going to get very fortunate. Luckily, there are already Stalkers here. Storm almost finished, so there should be a Storm coming out. It won't be the Locust will expire before that Storm finishes. Shield battery overcharge, not saving anything. Geralt is panicking a little bit here as the Swarm Hosts are finally starting to find a bit of damage. I know I keep saying this, Bly significantly behind in this game, but somehow keeping his head above water. That is phenomenal. And at the end of the game, what we're going to look back and say is, wow, Bly did a good job staying alive. Even if he loses here, he did a good job staying alive for much longer than most other Zergs probably would. Bly truly taking the role of La Cucaracha here and refusing to die, even though his head has been cut off minutes and minutes ago. 4th base out for Geralt. Even after losing 10 probes, he's still 12 probes ahead, and he's cranking out those probes 3 at a time. As +3 comes close to being finished for Geralt, he's going to start looking at a finishing move. Looks like Geralt has failed to make a Warp Prism, though, so he can't really reinforce, and he can't micro any of these Immortals or Archons either. A Warp Prism is so key as you come to a late end-game Protoss army. No matter how strong your army is, that Warp Prism is going to increase the power of the army 5-fold or 10-fold, just making it so much stronger. A little surprised to see that mistake from Geralt. I still think he's got an amazing chance this game. One single Zealot will catch the 4th hatchery of Bly here. Bly trying to go for a run by, and Geralt has left his door open yet again. This is really rough here for Geralt. These are little mistakes he shouldn't be making this late in the game. 1 Archon does go down, and the High Templar is going to get zapped as well, but the Stormy boys are ready to roll. 4 of them here at the 3rd base of Bly, and I think at this point Bly has got to realize there's an incredible army advantage for his opponent, and he's going to, I guess, try and get these swarm hosts back in, and maybe try and, oh my god, this is terrible timing from Bly here. The Immortal can focus fire down that Nidus Swarm. The Nidus is going to go down. That means those swarm hosts are stranded now like Tom Hanks in Castaway, and there's nowhere for him to go. A Blink Stalker will be able to take care of this, and well, again, the entire army of Gerald getting pulled back here. This is a bit sloppy from Gerald. Honestly, what should be happening right now, Gerald should have left this army in the natural and tried to keep picking down Bly as best he can. He could have responded to that Nidus and caught all these swarm hosts with some charge lots. It would have been a little slower, but he would have been able to get more damage dished out on the other side. I will say Gerald playing very, very cautiously this game, and it might be costing him a bit of time. One thing we often talk about here on the that one Zealot, by the way, killed that entire hatchery. What a freaking champion. That Zealot giving his life for ire, but getting as well as he got. Anyway, I will just say, yeah, Gerald definitely being a bit too cautious. One thing we always say on the B stream is that army supply isn't really a good thing unless your army supply is doing something. And Gerald has spent a majority of this game, a plurality of this game, if not a majority, bouncing back and forth between bases, right? How many times have we seen Gerald across the map, on Bly's side of the map, ready to pressure? And then Bly drops a Nidus Worm or flies by with some mutas or something. Players and viewers tend to be so reactionary about maps. It seems like the second a new map hits the pool, everyone and their mother immediately says, okay, this map is Protoss' favorite, it sucks, I hate it. Which is really disappointing, because if you pay attention to what happens over the course of seasons, as a map matures and the players learn it a lot better, you start to find out that most maps in the pool, surprise, surprise, are actually incredibly well designed and incredibly well vetted. I remember there was so much consternation about Golden Wall. The first 2 weeks it came out, everybody was like, Golden Wall, such a Terran map, I don't want to even unban it because it sucks. And of course the map maker, I believe it's Super Omen, came out with a little blog about Golden Wall afterwards, and he said, hey guys, I ran the numbers talking about how he built the map and if it worked the way he wanted it to, and like the difference in win rates on Golden Wall was inside of 3% on either side of 50-50, so really truly a genuinely well-balanced map. And I feel like despite a lot of talk about this being Zerganata, this is going to prove to be a pretty fantastic map overall. Got to really quickly, let me adjust, there we go, done. Sorry guys, like I said, I'm a little bit frightening as I wasn't expecting to cast on my own today. So I will have a couple little production issues, hopefully nothing too large though. If you see anything that doesn't seem to work, do let me know and I'll fix it. Ivan the One, 4 streams. How many casters per stream? We have got 8 total casters, 4 casters on each stream. And then of course the main stream is hosted today by Kelaris, that legend. So every stream should have, well, I was going to say every stream should have 2 casters. With Grant's unexpected illness, it looks like we will have 1 caster on a different stream. I might end up solo casting on another stream today. We'll see how things go. But yeah, most streams should have 2 casters, and I'm sure the admins right now are scrambling to fill all those spots. So don't worry, the solo casting will end pretty shortly here. Void Ray going to be out first for Gerald, and I love Void Ray openings right now. PVZ rather. Void Ray openers just seem to be so powerful. A Void Ray, of course, gives you not only a lot of map controls, you can buzz down those overlords and really prevent the Zerg player from having a lot of information, but also, in case you get rushed afterwards, in case there's a lot of lings coming your way, or a big roach push that you're not really prepared for, that you haven't scouted out, the Void Ray is able to stay back home and just do so much damage as well. Of course, you can get an Oracle that does pretty well against lings, but the Oracle will run out of energy eventually, and a Void Ray doesn't have that problem. So Void Rays can be very useful in the long term. I love seeing more of them getting mixed in, and it really has broadened the scope for Protoss players to open up their Stargate openers and really do whatever they want. As you can see, first Oracle out already for Gerald, and the second Oracle is on the way right behind it. First Oracle catching a couple transferring drones here. This is really nice. Good save by Gerald there. Spore Crawler's a little bit late, which means 2 and maybe a 4th drone. There we go. 4th drone isn't going to go down here, but 3 kills on that Oracle, forcing out some Spore Crawlers, and should force a cancel here from Bly. And a second Oracle on the way. So far, this is pretty dang good harassment for Gerald, who's going to grab a second Overlord, further disrupting Bly's build order. Bly so far just playing a bit of a macro game, going up to Lair Tech, and the real thing you want to look at when a Zerg player is going Lair Tech is how many gases do they take after that. If you're just sort of watching the game on a casual level and you want to sort of figure out what the Zerg player is going for, if they've got 3 bases and a lair, your next question should be, how many gases are they going for? As a general rule of thumb, if you see 3 gases, that usually means speed roaches. If you see 4 gases, that usually means Mutalisks on the way after this. Right now, though, just 2 gases down for Bly, which indicates that he'll probably go roaches. He might skip roach speed if he's so inclined, if no more gas comes down. But again, general rule of thumb, really depends on how many roaches he wants to make. By the way, really nice damage from Gerald here, getting another queen kill. In fact, let's take a look at the units lost tab and that resources lost tab, and you can just see what an effective game Gerald's playing right now. 3 overlords, 2 queens, a handful of drones, all for 1 adept and 1 probe. That is not too shabby at all. It's not the epic, 37 drone kills that you might want to see sometimes, but Gerald hasn't really gone all in with this aggression, just a couple of Stargate units out, and he's able to tech behind this. He's got a Forge working on +1, he's got an extra gateway going down, and of course that Twilight Council already coming down. As we see, it looks like Gerald going again for Charge Lot Archon here in game number 2. It worked so well for him last time, I don't see any reason why he should change that up. He has, of course, seen the Roach Warren from Bly. Bly is going to go for speed, actually, on his Roaches. He's grabbed gases 3, 4, 5, and 6 now. So Bly, on all 6 gases, trying to grab a 4th base, but I think the Oracles have just enough energy to force another cancel here, and Bly is probably getting some PTSD right now, thinking, oh, man, this is exactly what happened last game with my 3rd base, where it just got canceled, and Gerald was able to spin that economic advantage into a huge military advantage later in the game. Oh, man, Gerald going to dive real deep again here, sacrifices 1 Oracle, gets the other one out though. Oh my goodness gracious, look at that. The Oracle with with 10 health and 3 kills is going to escape. A couple of adepts pushed away by these roaches, but most importantly, this has shown Gerald that, oh, hey, wait a minute, roaches, that's a fair amount. He's seen 4, a couple more in production as well. So Gerald should be doing a couple more rounds of warp-ins back home. Take a look at the structures tab here. Only 6 gates down for Gerald. Usually on 3 bases, you want to be on about 8 gates, and we see Gerald finally scrubbing in those 2 extra gates, and we'll add a few more, I think, just to be safe, realizing that, hey, roaches are a real threat here, and there are lots of lings on the map as well. Gerald better hope that his wall holds pretty steady, and hopefully that his Immortal pops out sooner rather than later. There is a Chrono going down on the Robo right now, so that Immortal should be coming out. Ooh, Gerald moving across the map right now. This is a very bold move from Gerald. He has not seen this ling pressure popping up from Bly, but Bly actually not going for the full pressure that I thought he was going to. Looks like the roaches have been called back home for Bly as he worries about the units from Gerald coming across. Lings again coming into the natural, and if I've got one thing... Oh no, Gerald! Okay, refocus firing, goodness gracious. Those unbuildable bricks getting a couple shots from the Immortal that he didn't want right now. Gerald leaving his front door open yet again, and this is a mistake that Gerald made in the previous game. Of course, the last game, Gerald was so far ahead that it didn't matter if he lost 8 probes. This game, however, those 8 probe kills are going to put Bly ahead economically. Couple of Archons are out. The Void Ray, the Warp Prism still here for Gerald, as is the Void Ray. So plenty of opportunities for Gerald to push if he wants to, but it looks like Gerald is just going to retreat, giving Bly some space to breathe. Bly now has a Spire up in his main base, Infestation Pit behind this, and we'll see him going up to Hive Tech. Looks like Ling, Bane, Muta is going to be the mid and late game play from Bly here. Even though he started with Roach Ravager, Bly's a smart enough player, he knows, look, Roach Ravager isn't really sustainable. We saw that in game number 1. Oh my god, these Banelings gonna blow up. Oh, not getting any probes though, and of course they're +1 Banes, not +2, so it would have taken twice as many to get that same amount of damage done. Anyway, Bly realizing his mistake from last game, that staying on Roach Ravager just isn't sustainable, and if the game drags on past the 10-minute mark, past the 15-minute mark, Bly's not going to be able to really muster too much aggression if he stays on Roach Ravager for too long. Now, an interesting choice from Bly. Instead of going for Mutas right away, he is going to get some Corruptors out. I think he's fearing the transition right now from Gerald into Phoenix, which is exactly what Gerald is doing. If we check Bly's vision, actually, we can see he's not seen either of these Stargates yet, so this is just a phenomenal read from Bly here in game number 2. Even though he's not spotted either of those Stargates, he's sort of reading Gerald's mind a little bit and saying, okay, what can you transition to that I'd really be afraid of, and what can I do to prepare for it? Bly kicking out a couple of Corruptors, but I think waiting to build more Corruptors until he confirms that it's Mass Phoenix from Gerald. Gerald, of course, seeing those Corruptors, realizes, aha, You're trying to counter my counter? Well, I'll do a different counter instead. These players are doing a phenomenal job this game, playing that very, very lucrative PvZ chess match. And oh god, just as I say it, that they're doing such a good chess match, Gerald chokes on a chicken bone and eats a bunch of damage. 17 probes going down. That is damage that you simply cannot take if you're playing in the Dreamhack StarCraft II Masters EU region. Guys, these players are too good to allow a 17 probe kill Baneling hit like that. Gerald should have pulled his probes away there. He had the Archons in place, just absolutely failed to make that work. This is a huge mistake from Gerald, and that puts him significantly behind now. Corruptors get chased away from this third base of Gerald. Gerald, of course, on 4 now, but Bly grabbing a 5th base in the bottom corner. Greater Spire on the way, 8 Corruptors here, and it looks like Lingbane Muta not going to be the play from Bly at all. Lingbane Muta, of course, a very, very common follow-up to the Roach Ravager opening, but Bly is deciding, you know what? I'm not going Lingbane Muta. I'm instead going Broodlords with Lingbane underneath. A bit of an unorthodox strategy, you know. 12 months ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Broodlord Lingbane was so powerful. Throw a couple Infestors under there with Infested Terrans, and baby, you got a stew going. In recent days, I have not seen Broodlords hardly at all out of Zerg players, especially in the EU region. In fact, I've been casting Dreamhack EU now for a week, and I'm pretty sure I have not seen a single Broodlord hit the map. Oh, maybe there was one game that went Broodlords, but genuinely about the least common late game play from Zerg players, rather, and this is going to be a very interesting late game if Bly does decide to tech up to those Broodlords as soon as his Greater Spire finishes. Bly saving up 3k minerals, 1.5k gas. The Corruptors are all awaiting orders, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see exactly 8 Broodlords out immediately. And we should see some more Corruptors to support them eventually, but this is going to be very scary. Geralt, by the way, has no idea, has not seen the Greater Spire yet, has seen a few Corruptors, which might be like, okay, is he going to go for that? I'm not really sure. The good news for Geralt is he's been prepping. He's got his Fleet Bacon down in the main base, so chat, I hope you've got your griddles ready. The Fleet Bacon is down, the Tempests are on their way out now, and if the Tempest count gets high enough, these Broodlords could be completely neutralized. Right now, the army values are looking very even for these two players, but oh my god, Geralt! Come on, buddy! You can't keep letting these lings into your natural. Huge, continuing mistakes from our Polish player Gerald, and he is going to lose a fair amount of probes here. Now, look, it's near the end of the game. Staying on 66 probes is okay, but honestly, not something you want to have to rebuild. And we see Gerald investing tons of minerals right now into rebuilding those probe lines, and it's really paying off for Bly. Look at the banks right now for the players. Bly has 10 times the bank, well, as I say it, 5 times the bank of Gerald. And Gerald has to find himself doing some more and more desperate moves to stay back in this game. I love the Zealot run-bys. Sometimes a Zealot run-by can be absolutely devastating, right? Kill off 10, 15 drones, kill off a hatch, maybe prevent that larva production later in the game. But Bly's creep spread is so good. He saw this coming a mile away. Able to rotate some lings over, has a few more spines in, and that Zealot run-by not going to do much at all. First carriers now rolling off the assembly line for Gerald. He's up to 3 Stargates. The Fleet Beacon, by the way, has not researched anything yet, so no Flux Veins for those Void Rays, no Tectonic Destabilizers for the Tempests, no upgrades yet. We'll see if that comes, but of course, with Carriers on the way, I doubt we'll see a huge Tempest upgrade, at least certainly no rush for it. No rush in getting to that upgrade for Geralt. Geralt again trying a run by, but Bly's creep spread just phenomenal. Look at the map right now, more than halfway covered with creep. A nice little storm to start off that engagement, but a decent fungal as well. Unfortunately, the fungal going to wear off just in time for Geralt to evacuate. A parasitic bomb is doing a fair amount of damage on the Tempest in the backside here, but the Broodlords have arrived, and the Broodlords are going to find themselves in a really nice position on the south flank here. This is a great engagement from Bly so far, moving these Ravagers around. The Infestor energy, of course, very, very low. Only 1 Infestor in this army for Bly, so Geralt's not going to get fungaled again, and that's going to force Geralt back. A big warp in the main base, though, and let's see what tech Geralt can go for. Now, if Geralt's paying close attention, he's going to want to go for some of these key tech buildings. Infestation Pit, Spawning Pool, the Corruptors coming back here, but of course, Corruptors can't do jack diddly against these Zealots. The Zealots need to focus on, oh, they're not going to be able to focus fire here. This is a bit of a misstep from Geralt. Again, if he would have focused down either the Spawning Pool or the Infestation Pit with those Zealots, he might have had a good chance of taking them down. I simply don't think that's going to be the case, though, as now the Spawning Pool's at half health, the Infestation Pit's at half health, and that doesn't mean your Infestors and Zerglings come out with half health when they hatch, guys. It means that they are still ready and raring to go. That's a good defense by Bly, but it could have been so much more from Geralt. But Chat, I believe you know what meme is approaching. So get those minus 400s ready as the mama ship is on the way. Gerald, my man, I'm going to buy you a subscription to Home Depot's membership service so that you can buy a damn door and a lock to go with it. Lings into the main again. We are going to see the Stargate go down here. This plus one shields might actually be under duress. Not quite, but the fleet bacon is going to go down. So put the griddles away, scrape that grease off, and don't make any more bacon because the fleet beacon is gone, baby dolls. Meanwhile, a massive fungal growth onto Geralt's army here, and these carriers are going to eat so much damage. Feckless storms from those Tempests, trying to stop those Broodlords from going, furthering their push and sieging up, but it's not going to be enough. Those Broodlords, of course, with massive hit point pools. Every Broodlord with something like, 250 HP, I think. They're just difficult to take down. And with the Corruptor's Caustic Spray, they are going to take down this 5th base for Gerald. Gerald now on 4 bases and being sieged by a very terrifying Bly army. Now, Geralt has lost almost everything here. 2 carriers, 3 Tempests, a lot of Archons have gone down. His Storm energy is still fairly high, but Storm is not going to be enough. Remember, guys, Storms don't stack. So even if you do have 10 Storms and you put them all on top of those Broodlords, it takes a long time for the Broodlords to actually die, right? So Storms are not going to be enough. Like, Storms alone are not going to be enough. Geralt trying to rebuild his infrastructure. The Fleet Beacon is restarted. He's got +2 air attacks on the way and adding on some Void Rays. But, guys, I just don't think he's got much of a chance here. As we see, this base has been spotted here by some Lings. And with this humongous Corruptor count, there is no way the Tempest and Carriers can engage. All right now that Bly is doing is trying to avoid these Archons with the Corruptors and find a way to siege up. Of course, Geralt now blocked out of his main base and things going from bad to worse as the Corruptors take down the main, take down the Fleet Beacon, take down the Stargate, and the Broodlord sieging up the production of Geralt right now. Bly is truly on fire here in game number 2. As we said earlier, a storm goes down, but it takes a few storms to kill off those Corruptors, giving Bly plenty of time to dodge out of the storms. Meanwhile, Parasitic Bomb is going to take out one of these carriers. Oh, God, just out of time. The carrier barely saving itself. Another Nexus on the way for Geralt, but look at the banks. That tells the whole story. Geralt can't spend his money at all, and Bly can't spend his money fast enough. Infestor with a fair amount of energy now. Ling run by here onto the base that Geralt just finished up, and Geralt's going to lose that Nexus. Can't quite get the cancel in, and goodness gracious, y'all, this is looking rougher and rougher for our Polish Protoss player as Bly draws the noose around his neck and tightens it. He is the Hangman. Can Geralt cheat the Hangman? Is Geralt a fan of the Doobie Brothers? Something tells me he's probably not, so I'm guessing he doesn't know how to cheat the Hangman at all. Sure, the Broodlord counts down a little bit, down all the way to 7 Broodlords, but how many Tempests are there? Oh, right, there's only 3. How many Carriers are there? Oh, right, there's only 3. It's just not enough of an army, and I think Geralt right now, sort of in that phase of the game where he's just processing the loss, right, and sort of realizing that he had a decent army, didn't quite transition to Sky Toss fast enough, and did lose some key units to Fungals and Parasitic Bombs. Broodlord's still just sieging up on the main base, and as we see, the only sad remaining Stargate is still alive. I like that Bly's leaving it alive as a trophy. It's like in every medieval movie where there's a big battle where they murder, like one side murders everybody and then they leave one guy alive and they're like, go back to your king and tell him what happened. Like, this is that Stargate who's like, oh my god, guys, it was terrible. There are so many Broodlords and Corruptors. That's my pitch for a new season of Game of Thrones, is just that. Nothing else. Nothing else. Just that one scene. That's all you want to see. Oh, man. Another cancel here. Geralt's stuck on 2 bases. Can't even call this a mining base here. Just moderately oversaturated. 27/8. And Bly is really taking his time. Now, I gotta say, I can't blame Bly for taking his time. He does have a very delicate composition right now, guys. Look at the amount of Corruptors on the map. 30 Corruptors on the map. If you just go in guns a-blazing with 30 Corruptors and stack them up over an Archon, or let the Stalkers get underneath them and actually do some damage, you genuinely can lose from this position. I'm not saying it's plausible. I am saying it's possible, though. So I think while we may, and of course we have map hacks, remember, we know exactly what Bly and Geralt both know, but these players don't have full vision. So Geralt might not know how invested Bly is right now, and Bly might not have any idea. Maybe Geralt has a ninja base somewhere. Well, he's doing a pretty good job checking for that. But remember, we have map hacks, so I know we're very quick to be like, oh, this is over, come on, tap out. But we have perfect information, and these players simply do not. God, the burrowed lings in the main. Bly, you cheeky boy. Just like the Bee Gees circa 1975. He is staying alive in the main base. I mean, one sad Tempest still not coming out. This poor Stargate is like, guys, I'm telling you, it's terrible. Guys. Gerald on 17 workers. I mean, take a look at the income graph here. We can just see Bly has completely taken over in the last few minutes here. And Gerald's going to go for one last hurrah. He's got, what, 3 carriers, 3 Tempests. And he's got a pretty decent army here. And like we said, Bly still has to be very cautious about his engagements. He can't waste a lot of Infestor energy on bad Fungals. Oh my god, Fungling all those Templar is huge. Doesn't quite kill. Oh, the second chain Fungal on the Templar, but ho-ho! Gerald saves those Templar. This is incredible. He morphs the Templar into an Archon as they were Fungal. They would have died otherwise. I mean, they're going to die anyway, but that was such a cute little play from Gerald there. Barely getting those Templars saved, but Gerald knows it's not enough. The double G goes. There we go. That ought to be a little bit better. Nothing to do with what you guys hear back home. All right, let's intro our players here in the rubber match, and then we'll talk a little bit about where these players are in their brackets, or in their groups rather, and what that means for the group stage after this. Spawning. In the bottom right-hand side in the red, representing Team Exxon and Poland, it's our Protoss player, Gerald. And his opponent. In the top left-hand side, representing Ukraine and Raise Your Edge Gaming, our Zerg player, Bly. Bly going hatch gas pool. What is this? Bly playing macro 2 games in a row? I'm pretty sure he's just given his account credentials to Raynor. This doesn't seem like the Bly that I know and love. Not at all. Alright, so I promised you I'd talk a bit about the groups, and even though we don't have a bunch of fancy group graphics like the A stream does, I can still sort of walk you through where we are in these groups as these players are doing their very standard openers here. Of course, we're casting our first game today from Group A in the EU Regional Group Stage. Ooh, very early third base from Bly, by the way. Group A right now, a pretty tight group actually, and this match has a lot riding on it. Right now, both Bly and Gerald are at 1 and 2. They have won 1 series and lost 2 series. Today's match is going to be a huge win for either of them. I cannot tell you guys the difference between being 2 and 2 in your group and being 1 and 3. Whichever player loses this will go down to a 1 and 3 loss, which basically means, not 100%, but basically means they have to win all the rest of their series to even have a chance at ending up in the top 4 of these 8-player groups. The top 4, of course, are the only players that move on. The bottom 4 players in each group of 8 are sent home. They're eliminated. They get a little bit of money and some EPT points, but obviously what you want to do is make it into the top 4 in the group so that you can move on to that bracket stage later in the day. Later in the next week, actually. Sorry. Later next week. We'll wrap up the EU group stage this week, and we'll start with that bracket play next week. Now, you may be wondering, okay, top 4 go on. Why does it matter then? Why do you bother playing out all the games? If you know you're in the top 4, surely you'll just quit, right? Well, not so fast there, Sparky. Number 1 and 2 in each group get seeded into the upper bracket, which means they basically have a double elimination tournament. They get 2 chances to move on and can take 2 losses. If you end up in spots 3 and 4 in the group, you still move on to the bracket stage, but you get bumped immediately into the lower bracket, meaning that basically if you get 3rd and 4th place in the group stages, the bracket stage for you is single elimination. And of course, if you're in the bottom of the bracket stage, you have to battle through almost twice as many matches. So there's a huge incentive for these players to end up in the top 2 spots in each group. Little adept pressure here from Gerald, but he is not going to get too much done. Yeah, he'll even cancel that shade. The Void Ray will find itself an Overlord kill here. Finally, on the hunt, our little Jaws boy gets something here. Oracles again on the docket for Gerald. That first Oracle popping out. We'll see if he goes for a second Oracle like he did last game, although it seems unlikely. Usually, if you see that 3rd base coming down early, it means that you're going to skip the second Oracle, at least until a little bit later, if at all. But right on cue, Bly's Lings popping into 3rd base. There's an Oracle here. There's some Adepts here. These Lings aren't going to get much done at all. Void Ray will be brought back home just in case Bly tries to be a little bit cheeky. Of course, leaving these Lings here can be a little bit scary for a Protoss player. Always a little bit worried that, wait a minute, you're leaving 10 Lings here? Do you have 10 more? Because 10 lings isn't really a problem, but 20 lings is definitely a problem in that third Nexus area. Can easily get a full surface area on the Nexus and get a good surround. So Gerald bring that Void Ray back home, not only to kill off the Overlord, so no additional scouting, but able to clear out any more lings that may pop up. Luckily for Gerald, Bly, not going to do any more pressure, is going to be content back home to go for Roach Warren and his Evo Chamber. Now, the Scouting Overlord for Bly did not see these 2 additional buildings from Geralt, so he does not know about the Forge, Twilight Council, and certainly does not know about that Robo in the natural. Actually, let me confirm that really quickly. I don't think he knows about the Robo in the natural. No, he does not, right. So Bly's a little bit in the dark, but you know, Geralt's done this very similar build 3 games in a row now where he's opened with Stargate and moved on into Charge Lot play, and we see, again, Charge Lot starting up right away for Geralt. So while Bly certainly hasn't spotted it, hasn't scouted it, doesn't know about it yet, it's a fair guess, it's a fair assumption that Bly can make that, hey, you know what, he's done this the last 2 games, he went into this Charge Lot Archon play, or Charge Lot Immortal as he did in game number 1 before transitioning into Archons after that. It's a fair guess that that's probably what we're going to see again this game. And we see +1 melee attack coming out instead of +1 missile attack. Now, some of you might be like, wait a minute, Creighton, Roaches are a missile unit. They're a ranged unit. They don't benefit from +1 melee attack. Why on earth would Bly get missile attack, or get melee attacks rather, and Roach speed instead of getting missile attacks? Wouldn't missile attacks make more sense? You're right. If Bly was planning on staying on Roaches for longer this game, he would definitely getting +1 missile attack, going up to +2 missile attack, maybe even a Carapace speed. That's not what Bly's going for. Again in this game, since he's taken all 4 of his gases, all 6 of his gases now, at his first, second, and third bases, he's likely going to go for Ling, Bane, Muta. Now what's really interesting is that Ling, Bane, Muta is certainly the more orthodox choice in this matchup, and what you'd commonly expect to see if you were just watching a game casually. Last game, however, Bly showed us that it's not just Ling, Bane, Muta that works like he tried in game number 1. In game number 2, he went straight up to Corruptors and transitioned to Broodlords from there. So Bly certainly has a few options in his pocket right now, and getting +1 melee helps keep those options slightly more open. Roaches and Ravagers don't scale well into the mid and late game. Usually after about 10 minutes, you don't really want to be building Roaches and Ravagers anymore. They're just not as efficient once Immortals and Archons are on the map. So we'll have to see exactly what Bly goes for to support his Lings and Banes in the air. Back home, though, second Stargate for Geralt, and the Immortals are now being pumped out in full force. So it's not going to... Are you kidding me? Geralt, can you please, for the love of God, leave a Zealot in your door? Oh, these Lings going to get in for a full scout again. They will see the second Stargate. This is great for Bly. Absolutely great. The bad news is, Geralt's a coming. This is a very, very aggressive Charge Lot Immortal Archon attack. The Warp Prism is even here as well, and the Warp Prism does 2 things. Not only does it negate Defender's advantage for Bly, meaning that Geralt can warp in units straight to the front of the battlefield and really put pressure on, it also means that he can micro the Archons and the Immortals. So if they see Corrosive Biles coming down, if the Banelings are able to get a good shot here, oh my god, that Stasis Ward was gorgeous, stopping those Broodlings and slowing down some of the Banelings. Very nicely done there by Geralt. Bly, of course, with some counter pressure here, forcing more Charge Lot Warp-ins back home. This is not what Geralt wanted. And it's going to force his entire army back home. I'm getting flashbacks to game 1 again. Now remember guys, Geralt did win game number 1, but the biggest criticism we had of Geralt in game number 1 was that while he had a very nice army supply, he had an income advantage for the entire game, he spent most of the game going back and forth between his natural and Bly's third or fourth base, just defending against continuous run-bys and Nidus play from Bly. Bly was able to negate Geralt's army supply advantage by keeping him on his toes by playing that guerrilla warfare style, forcing your opponent to respond to continued drops, continued harassment, continued pressure at multiple places in the map. And Geralt seems to have had real struggles dealing with this. He's not going to see this push coming either down to the south side, and he's got to hope now that this big Zealot warp-in can do some big damage in the natural. Geralt pushing across the map. Again, the whole army out of position. We'll see if Bly goes for another run by. Geralt still does not have a close in this natural, my god, come on. Come on, Geralt. How many times does this need to happen? Immortal should get immediately surrounded here. The pressure's on, though, as more Zealots coming down. The fourth base for Bly going down. The third, or the fifth base for Bly going down. The natural under duress as well here. There is so much happening right now. Lings in the main base of Geralt, and Geralt should lose a fair few probes here. Nice Zealot warp-ins again, continuing to distract those Zealots, but 10, 11 probes, 14 probes going down. These Banelings getting massive connections, and what that means is Gerald really needs to win this game sooner rather than later. He's now down 48 workers to 69. Nice for Bly. Bly's Hive Tech only just now on the way, a bit belatedly, but it's still there. We do see +1 flyer attack coming out for Bly, who's setting up again for Lingbane Muta, maybe Corruptors if he sees the transition. I like that Bly is waiting, though. I like that he's not building, well, not building Mutas or Corruptors yet. He's going to see how many Phoenix there are, and now that he's seen a fair few Phoenix, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bly building a few Corruptors behind this instead of just Mutalisks. And now, the Baneling count fairly low. The Baneling count only at, okay, 21, but they're just, yeah, out of position. Here we go. Baneling's finally coming in. Gerald sliding off of creep just a little bit. Phoenix gonna eat some shots. Oh my god, a nice corrosive bile there from Bly. Gerald not getting out of the way. Big mistake from Gerald, eating another corrosive bile. Storm on the way, more Immortals coming down, but there, as we said, I wasn't surprised to see Gerald, or Bly waiting rather. He built one Mutalisk and then he was like, wait a minute, hold on. I can be patient here. I have a pretty decent map coverage with my pretty different creep spread, so I have good map coverage, good map awareness. I can wait to see what Gerald has. Upon seeing all those Phoenix, he's going to build a fair amount of Corruptors, not too many, but a fair amount of Corruptors to push back the Phoenix and make sure the lifts aren't an important part of the game. Zealots holding off what they can, forcing these Lings and Banes to trade as efficiently as possible here, but another Ling run by, and I swear to God, Gerald, if you let more Lings into your natural, I'm going to come find you and make you play the micro challenge on the arcade until your fingers turn blue and fall off. 10 more probes going down. This is just opening the door for more Baneling run-bys, for more Ling run-bys, and while this will get cleaned up, it is 10 more probes going down. The War Prism chased away here, and finally, Bly is able to defend against one of the attacks from Gerald. This marks a big shift in initiative this game. Think back to the previous run-bys that Gerald has done at this 12 o'clock base for Bly. Almost every single one has resulted in his hatchery going down and being forced to be rebuilt. Finally, Harstem is able, Harstem's in the chat distracting me. Finally, Bly is able to defend against the run-bys from Gerald and protect this base for the first time. And again, I think that marks an important shift in tone and control in this game. Bly able to defend himself and keep some pressure on. Gerald not really going anywhere. Bly now banking up 1k. He's not quite maxed out yet, and Gerald actually has a pretty scary army. Look at the army supply tab. You can see Gerald fairly ahead. Fairly highly ahead in income, and he is back up to 67 workers, so his economy looks good on the surface. The problem is, oh god, Gerald, what are you doing, buddy? Big surround here. Storm goes down, that'll force some of those Lings away, but 17 probes have gone down. The third base cleared out yet again, and Gerald has not been able to defend himself against these Baneling run-bys, and there it is. Finally, the switch coming from Bly. This is what he's saving all of his money up for. He's got Greater Spire coming out. He's got Infestor on the way and making a lot more Corruptors. Bly won game number 2 with a switch into Broodlords against this very similar composition from Gerald, and it looks like he's going to have good chances here again in game number 3. Again, look at Gerald's army. He's got 4 Archons, and he does have a couple Tempests on the map, but his economy has been hamstrung so many times that he's not really been able to sustain what you really want, which is 3 or even 4 Stargates in the main base to crank out a lot of Tempests and a lot of Carriers. So while his army is scary now, the Broodlord Corruptor Force should be able to do a pretty decent job again in game number 3. And again, Gerald just cannot defend back home. He is getting pushed back home, trying to get some pressure on the map, but he's down to 34 workers. And what that means for Gerald is if he doesn't win with this push, he straight up does not win. Obviously, Gerald would like to be adding on a mothership right now. He'd like to be adding on more Carriers, more Tempests, another Stargate, getting that upgrade for the Tempest, that Tectonic Destabilizer, so he can really siege. Unfortunately, he's not able to do so. Now, don't get me wrong, Gerald still has a very scary army. He catches all the Broodlords on. Oh my god, he catches all the Broodlords morphing in. The Archons underneath every single Broodlord. The Broodlord's going down immediately. What a catch for Gerald! I can't believe it! Bly is actually going to lose every single Broodlord. The Broodlord counted 0. The Corruptor counted 0. All he's got are Roaches and Immortals. This play from Gerald is so big. Hoagie smokes, that's huge. What? Immediately, Bly has been drained of everything. He's got 7 more Broodlords on the Morph. Where are they? Okay, they're safely at his main base. These 7 Broodlords should get out, and that's good. But Gerald back home has been building up a couple more probes. He's got some good storms going down, and it looks... I don't believe this. Bly is going to get snookered, caught completely by surprise. Are you kidding me right now? The Roach Warren is down. The Broodlords are finally engaging here. That just means the Tempests need to come forward. The Tempests, though, are not under threat at all. Look at the Corruptor count. It's 2 Corruptors. Count them. 1, 2. That's it. 2 Corruptors means these Tempests can fight these Broodlords completely unopposed. Tempest. Go, baby, go. Broodlord's gonna get cranked down, and Bly is going to lose almost everything. He's lost a couple of bases now, and unbelievable. What a timing from Gerald, able to get in when his army was strong and prevent Bly from getting to that strong point, and Bly is gonna drop the game. GG, and the handsome Polish Protoss player goes.